So I see it's 6 p.m. We may start. Yeah. So welcome. Welcome on today's webinar, where we are going to talk with you with a very interesting topic, which is the role of Scrum Master and the role of RTE in SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. And let me introduce myself. My name is Alyona Lubchak. I'm CEO and SAFe Program Consultant at E5. I'm doing software development and consultancy for more than, I guess, 10 years. And I had a variety of very different clients, which I supported with agile transformation, coached Scrum Master, product owners, product managers, and of course, RTE. So during today's webinar, I'm going to share not only theoretical part, because definitely I have all necessary certification to share it, but also the practical part, because it's very important to see the cases, how it's done in the real world. And the company which I represent is E5. We actually helping and educating people in business analysis, in agile methodology, in project management since 2014. And I'm glad to introduce my colleague, Konrad.
Thank you, Helen. Welcome, everyone. My name is Konrad. I have a pleasure to conduct the webinar today together with Helen. A few words about myself. I started right after finishing studies as a software developer, so I know the challenges that many development teams are struggling with from sort of my own experience. But relatively short after that, I moved to the roles around project and product delivery coordination. And by that time, I discovered the benefits of Agile. Initially on the team level, later I started to scale, and more or less since over 10 years, I have been working in scaled Agile environment, mainly with organizations of rather larger sizes, different fields, from IT solutions providers through banking and financial sector, finishing in automotive over recent years. So now most of my time I dedicate to delivery of the SAFe trainings and also conducting SAFe transformations and doing SAFe consultancy. I come from Poland. However, for last over 8 years, I've been living in Berlin, in Germany, and I represent also Kegon in Poland. Since I started to, or I mentioned Kegon, Kegon is gold partner of SAFe. This is the company which is present on the market for a bit over than 20 years. We call ourselves sort of the first mover in SAFe in German-speaking countries. So initially it was present in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. Now it is also sort of growing and expanding to other countries in Europe, as you can see on the map: Poland, Hungary, Spain. Those are the countries where we are present.
And we're really curious about you. So we would like to you to introduce yourself. You may type it in our Zoom chat, or maybe speak, just unmute yourself. And we would like you to share your role, actually, what you are doing at the moment. Are you conducting Scrum Master role, or maybe RTE, or maybe it's another role? I don't know. I would really love to hear it from you. And of course, your current location, because we know that we have people all over the world, and it's very interesting for us to know more about you. So could you please share? Just type in Zoom chat if it's easier for you, or unmute yourself and tell.
I only have 8% battery left. I just come out of a Google meeting. I'm a SAFe Agilist, Agile coach, product designer, and thank you, I'm in Berlin.
Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, also I see RTE from Germany. and test manager from Germany. Oh, we have a lot community from Germany today. It's nice.
You have Ukraine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Senior program manager, I am SPC.
Mm-hmm.
Just wondering what this course about. Like, I was my first meeting with you guys. To be honest, I'm just curious. And of course, I will be able to grab some knowledge and experience from you. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Sergey. I see also German from Germany, and role is LACE. I guess it's Lineageral Center of Excellence, which we haven't said yet. Very interesting one. Scrum Master from Polish company, and also Safe Scrum Master from Poland. Agile coach from Ukraine, and Scrum Master in Germany. Also Scrum Master from Kenya and acting as RTE. Yeah, it's a very, very common situation when you have the Scrum Master role. However, you're acting as a RTE. It's very interesting. We would love to hear your case as well. Also RTE from Kyiv, Ukraine, Scrum Master from Germany, and from Poland, the same role. Okay, and Scrum Master from Nigeria, and RTE from in the past and now Austria. Okay, and RTE Agile Coach in Kiev. Good. Thank you guys very much for sharing your location and your role. Now we see that we have very variety of different options, and we would love to hear your cases because we will share our experience, and we will really love to hear yours because we see a lot of Scrum Masters and a lot of RTEs.
Yes, it looks like we have very nice mixture of locations and roles, so I'm sure the discussion will be very interesting. Okay, let me briefly give you the outlook of how will we structure the webinar. We will start with the role of Scrum Master in SAFe, but also a few words about the role not only in SAFe view, but itself. Then we'll move to the RTE, Release Train Engineer, as SAFe defines it. This is the role which SAFe is introducing. And then we will also summarize and share some best practices on also anti-patterns, and especially during that part, we would encourage you to join our discussions and share your experiences. Moving on, let's talk about the Scrum Masters. So if we move to the next slide, we have a quote coming from Mike Cohn, and here a little remark on the site. You might visit Mike's website. There is a lot of very valuable content also, but Mike Cohn says Scrum Master is like orchestra conductor, guiding a group of individuals to create something that no one of them could create alone. And I think this is quite good summary and quite good quote, because if you think about music band or orchestra, as he says, despite of the fact that we would have perfect musicians and we would ask them to play one after the other or separately, we would never be able to hear the music that they can really produce together. And this is this requires certain alignment, certain guidelines, setting up, sometimes maybe constraints, sometimes coaching. And this is exactly what very briefly describes the role of the Scrum Master. And as you can also see, this is fundamental role for this orchestra to be able to play together and to produce that music. Without this role, they would not be able to work together effectively. And maybe one more point regarding this quote, I on purpose underlined the word create. I recently had very interesting exchange with another consultant where we talked about creating value versus delivering value. So if you would ask for my personal opinion, I would actually replace the word create something to deliver something or deliver value, basically, because it's not only about creating, building, or coding, but it is what really matters is to deliver this to the market and to the business. Okay, but let's move on to the quick preview of the Scrum Master role, and here I would hand over to Helen.
Yeah, thank you, Konrad. So you may see at the moment the easiest version of SAFe, which is Essential SAFe. And we highlighted with bright red color the main point of focus of the Scrum Master in SAFe. It's, of course, Scrum ceremonies, events which you have, additional, actually, agile team with roles. We have Scrum Master role, product owner, we have agile team in general to pay attention to this role. And, of course, the principles, the mindset, which also described here on the scheme. With pink color, you will see actually the things with a little bit less attention of the Scrum Master, because SAFe has additional role as RTE, which we'll discuss a little bit later. So here you may see that the Scrum Master has actually quite big things to do, a lot of things to do. And let's start with agile team with the main focus of the Scrum Master.
Yes, so as you can see, those are looking from the SAFe perspective, very high levels. This is very high level summary of the areas where Scrum Master would be contributing. We could very briefly divide it into the areas around the teams, like building high performing teams, improving flow, or basically improving the team itself, supporting iteration execution, so everything what is happening during the iterations or sprints, as Scrum calls them. But also there are points above around improving art performance. Art stands for Agile Release Train, and facilitating PI planning. So those are events or activities which are beyond the regular Scrum Master scope as Scrum defines it. But before we will go into the details, let's make a little step back and look at the Scrum Master role as Scrum defines it. So let's sort of move back to the roots. And before we even start to talk about the Scrum Master role itself, I'd like to bring Scrum values because I believe they are very often a little bit forgotten. However, they are extremely important, and they actually provide us characteristics of the people, the mindset of people who step in the Scrum Master role. So going very briefly through them, we have courage as the ability to face challenges, being proactive, having attitude to act on things and solve problems, not only raise them, but also actively think about solutions and how we can address them. Focus, of course, focus on the goal and knowing what are we aiming for, and also sort of passing this goal to the team. Commitment, so we want to make sure that we are able to achieve the goal. Respect, mainly to people. SAFe sort of extends it and talks about respect to people and culture, if you recall House of Lean. And openness to new ideas, to improvements, to innovation. And now if we have brief understanding of those Scrum values, you probably can already think and imagine the characteristics of people who would be in the Scrum Master role. And this is very important. And now let's take this as a sort of foundation to talk about the Scrum Master role in Scrums for now. And now we can have a look on how this person is contributing to the different areas. First of all, we have a Scrum team. Of course, Scrum Master is a member of the Scrum team, and the role is mainly supporting the team by coaching of how to become cross-functional team, how to be self-organizing teams. So you can see the element of certain courage is already visible. Probably it would also touch on respect. Second point which we have here is regarding helping the team to focus on high-level value increments and meeting definition of done. So again, elements of focus and commitment play into this, causing the removal of impediments. So courage for sure, commitment again, and ensuring that the Scrum events take place. This is overall alignment with the guidelines. If we move on, the next point which I'd like to cover is, again, how does the Scrum Master collaborate and serves or supports the product owner? And here we have techniques to find the effective product goal definition and product backlog. So how to split stories, how to estimate them effectively, what are the best techniques depending on the situation, how to, what are the story points, and what is entire planning poker? Why should we avoid estimating in time? All areas around this. Supporting team to understand product backlog items and what we are aiming to build, what's the purpose, why are we doing what we are doing. Empirical product planning, so approach to planning, sort of planning horizons, understanding the concept of so-called rolling wave planning, that we work in an iterative way. And finally, facilitating stakeholder collaboration and support in managing stakeholders, and sometimes even coaching and sort of educating and making sure that they understand why we work in an agile way, what does it mean, why do we need to work in an iterative way. So you see, again, we could connect each of those points to corresponding Scrum values, and they heavily influence the role of the Scrum Master. And finally, let's see how the Scrum Master is serving organization itself and how is supporting on those areas. And here we have helping to train, coach, and lead the organization in the adoption of Scrum or Agile practices. Make sure that they are understood, that people get familiar with them and work effectively. If we have multiple implementations, Scrum, Kanban, maybe elements of SAFe, maybe full SAFe implementation, Scrum Masters play very important role in making this happen and adopting those changes. Impact of empirical approach in a complex world. So basically understanding what is Agile for, and why cannot we plan everything and fix our plan like recipe for baking a cake, and making sure that teams understand it. And finally, removing certain barriers, impediments between stakeholders and Scrum teams, and making sure that we improve in a systemic way. So this is Scrum Master in Scrum. And now let's see what happens and how the role changes or not, while we look at the role from the perspective of SAFe. And over to Helen.
Thanks. So yeah, SAFe uses Scrum as a building block, and we really must remind and pay attention to all classical things, classical responsibilities, which Konrad just reminded you, which you will definitely find in Scrum Guide. However, in SAFe, for the Scrum Master role, we apply more. We apply more different responsibilities, more activities to do. First of all, it's connected with the facilitation, because in SAFe we have additional events. We have huge 2 days PI planning, the heart of the SAFe, when all our teams come together and they have this big planning. Also, the preparation to this big event also must happening here, and the facilitation and definitely must be done by the Scrum Master, which is additional part here. The same with system demo, with inspect and adapt workshop. So all additional events must be also be supported by the Scrum Master. So we have increasing of the role here. Then, of course, collaboration with other roles. We have more stakeholders. We have additional roles as Scrum Masters of other teams, product owners from other teams. We have RTE, the Chief Scrum Master. We will discuss this role a little bit later. We have architects, system architects, or maybe you are working in full safe configuration. Then you have also enterprise architect and other architects in place. We have product managers, variety of different business owners. So the collaboration of that roles also must be done by the Scrum Master. Of course, we're paying attention to the performance. And here we have not only the team's performance, but also the program performance, which means the performance of the whole art. If you have 10 teams in your art agile release train, it means that as a Scrum Master, you must contribute there. You must help all art agile release train to be better. And the last but not the least, it actually actively participation in all teams events and all program events which are happening here. So just to summarize, according to SAFe, the Scrum Master role will definitely have more different responsibilities, more different activities to be conducted by you if you are conducting Scrum Master role here.
Okay, so coming back to the questions that we prepared to you, we would be again curious to hear a bit from you, either live or on chat. Based on what we said, what responsibilities were new for you, and which of them you do not do on the regular basis as the Scrum Masters? Have you found any areas which you might need to pick up from
or maybe
those?
we missed something.
So please let us know, either unmute yourself or on chat.
Or maybe you saw something new which you didn't do before as a Scrum Master.
Or maybe you feel you do all of them, which is even better, and then we can have more advanced discussion.
So yeah, guys, please share your feedback. Really want to hear you.
Hi, Fatma here. On the slides on the Scrum Master himself, I think from my side, I do all of those. But then the Scrum Master, the slides that we initially had, I believe those were the Scrum Master according to just Scrum, right? There's that bit of organization whereby we have leading, training, and coaching organization. You know, all those things about organization, I believe there we are speaking about probably the executives, top leadership and stuff like that. I find most teams, if in SAFe, and whether you're practicing SAFe or not, we are focusing more at the team level, and then probably we have enterprise coaches, or in SAFe we'll have agile coaches who are the ones who are focusing more on the overall, you know, organization. But I find Scrum Masters in some organizations, including mine, not be given the opportunity to assist at the organizational level, but just at the team level. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I see There is also a question on, or actually comment on chat regarding some of the responsibilities sound more like a PO responsibilities. I'd be curious if we could name few which you feel belong more to the product owner, and we could briefly discuss.
Yeah, like interfacing with the product manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, may I comment? Konrad?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, interfacing with product managers, it may be, it's definitely the responsibility of product owner. Here, mostly we're talking about collaboration. Reminding about the schedule that we're going to have UPI planning, maybe facilitating some product owners or product managers sync ups if needed. So it's mostly like collaboration. Meanwhile, with a product owner role, of course, it's very close cooperation when we have common vision, when we work on common backlogs. So here, for the Scrum Master, it's mostly like collaboration. Honestly, I was expecting to see that the Scrum Master role looks like a project manager role, because typically I hear such comments here. So, however, I am completely on your side that comparing to the Scrum Guide, in SAFe, Scrum Master role is wider. We really see a lot of different responsibilities, which is additional with the events, with the collaboration, with the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Quick comment from my side would be that we need to think about all the activities which SAFe is introducing beyond Scrum. So if you imagine PI planning, especially team breakouts, when the teams are working to identify the impediments, they estimate, break down the stories, and they might split them, so they would have pretty close collaboration and they would be busy with product owners. It might turn out that they need some guidelines or some answers from product management. Then Scrum Master would be probably the best person to go and reach out to the product management and either bring those guys to the team, or at least try to get an answer or a certain guideline from them. Similarly, if we think about art sync meetings, so sort of Scrum of Scrums on Agile release train level, we might define it as a separate sync meeting for RTE and Scrum Masters, and POs with a PM, so product management, or we would have this as a joint event for all of those roles. And this is another opportunity when the Scrum Masters would be collaborating with product management or sort of interfacing them. Okay, but
yeah, we have a few more comments, just to read them. So comment from Olga regarding that improving program performance seems to be the most challenging. Yeah, because as a Scrum Master, you mostly concentrated on your team, or maybe teams if you have a couple of them. Meanwhile, program performance, it means all teams in our Agile release train. So it's really the big challenge. And to add here, on top of that, Scrum Masters participate in lots of initiatives related to Agile adoption, learning initiatives, facilitation of a lot of events outside the teams. This is a very good point. Thank you for that we have a lot of things to do outside our team, inside maybe our train, Agile release train, or even outside it. And yeah, about collaboration. Okay, now we have a pretty good discussion in chat. So I see one more hand from Natalie. So
yes.
Maybe...
Hello. I've just seen one comment as well from Dorota, and she's mentioned collaboration with key stakeholders and business owners sounds rather as a PO responsibility. What I can say, I'm a business architect in our company, and I'm working in a Scrum team, so I am not yet a Scrum Master. And yeah, that's true. It's mainly, from my perspective, the responsibility of a product owner, but this is in our team currently really a pain point, because she's the person which is a product owner is a bottleneck at the moment. And from my perspective, if a Scrum Master will support in collaboration with business stakeholders, business owners, architects from other teams, for us, or for our example, our team would be much more productive if our Scrum Master would do that. So this is really, really interesting how in SAFe the Scrum Master role is defined.
So if for those of you who took any of SAFe trainings, you might remember the exercise where we draw Venn diagrams, so 3 circles, and we assign Scrum Master to one of them, product owner, and the development team, and they of course cross each other, and we have different set of responsibilities, and we discuss with the group which responsibilities belong to particular role, which would fall into the sort of overlap of 2 areas, or which of them might be a joint responsibilities, like attend retrospective, for example. And the outcome of this activity, sorry for a little spoiler, but the outcome of this activity is that actually the overlap between the roles is pretty high. And there is a point in it because we are talking about an agile team. So this is a team like a football team on the field, right? They need to effectively collaborate with each other. They need to hold each other back. And if we have the situation that the Scrum Master can support PO in facing business owners, or can contribute to backlog refinement, or achieve certain things with a product management, there is nothing preventing them from doing it. So we need to keep in mind also this team aspect.
Yeah, and one more question to discuss, very challenging. So will the Scrum Master report the individual performance of the team member to the functional manager, or what base and permission, if it's not him who is doing it, and on what base? Yeah, it's a really good question. I will try to provide my view on it very shortly, and in any case, we may discuss it in details at the end of our webinar when we have enough time to have all necessary conversations. So remember, with the Scrum, with the Agile, we're trying to move from individual performance, from resource management, which we have in traditional approach, which described in PMBOK, with actually predictive methodologies, to teams performance. So for us, it's very important to understand what actually our piece. We want to have the sustainable piece, the velocity of our team. We want to understand the speed and rely on it. And because of that, we are moving from individual performance to teams performance. So this is a very important shift, which is done in Agile methodology, especially in Scrum. It's like one thing to add here. However, in real life, you may have functional manager who is responsible for personal performance. And here, typically, Scrum Master, if you will have functional manager in your company, so this is your organization structure, then Scrum Master may just provide the feedback, maybe to share some thoughts. But mostly it will be like the functional manager part, his job or her job, to actually identify the performance, to check it, evaluate, and provide the feedback. Scrum Master just giving like more information, but definitely not doing the measure of personal performance of each particular team member. I don't know, maybe Konrad, you would like to add here something?
Just one sentence, because of course, I fully agree. and we need to keep in mind the situations that we might have some people, let's say, underperforming or people causing certain conflicts in the team. And then comes the question how to deal with it. Is it Scrum Master's job or not? So my view on this is that first sort of approach is always to solve the conflicts and solve the topic within the team. And this is area where Scrum Master could help a lot. Scrum Master would be the person who would know how to build constructive feedback, how to formulate it, how to ask proper questions to discover the root cause of particular issue, and to think about potential actions that within the team might be taken to solve the problem. And this is very important. Another little, but I think quite big in effect, shift of mindset from looking for the problems and passing them over to the management or reporting them further to when we see the problem, let's think, how can we address it and what do we need to solve it? It might happen, of course, that we are not able to solve them within the team because of multiple reasons. Either we tried and it does not work, or the root cause is somewhere outside, or the root cause is so, let's say, deep in one particular person in this case that we are not able to solve them. Then I would think that we need to find a way to sort of pass it or make it visible to the functional manager and seek for help. But the first area is definitely the team itself to look for solutions.
Well, let's move to RTE role.
Yeah, sure. So we talked briefly about Scrum Master basics around Scrum. Then we gave you the preview, how does the role change and sort of grow in SAFe. And now let's talk briefly about the RTE. Here we have another quote from Peter Block. It's a misuse of our power to take responsibility for solving problems that belong to others. The way how I understand it is that we might, if you think about scaled approach, we might have 10, 8 teams working together, building one product. And I'm sure at least some of you has faced the situation when you have been working within the team, doing retrospectives, implementing certain improvements, but at some point you realize that there are problems which you're not able to address, or maybe I should not say problems, but improvements, which you cannot address within the team because the root cause lies outside of the team. And this is exactly what this quote is talking about, that there is no point to bump with our heads in the ceiling if we feel the root cause is somewhere outside of the team. And this is one of the areas where the RTE role becomes helpful. So if we move to the next slide and have the essential configuration of SAFe again, you can see the shift of the colors where the RTE role becomes sort of visible. So first of all, this trio on Agile Release Train level, so RTE, Product Management System Architect, this is sort of mapped and scaled set of roles in comparison to Agile teams. And of course, RTE will be collaborating very closely with Scrum Masters community. Then we have Agile Product Delivery as one of the competencies on the left-hand side. So everything what we need to make sure that Agile Release Train is able to deliver effectively. How do we integrate? How do we build? How does the overall process look like? How do we align? How do we identify the dependencies? Those are all the areas of interest of the RTE. So you probably already get the impression that Scrum Masters would have more local focus to their teams and area around their teams, while the RTE role would have more sort of global view for all the teams and all the entire alignment around the agile release train. And this is what the big rectangle is showing, that we have agile release train focus, and of course those systemic impediments and improvements which agile release train might be facing. And one more important element, the competency which is at the bottom, lean agile leadership. The RTE would be collaborating closely with lean agile leadership when it comes to the topics around overall, if it's new implementation, transformation or implementation to SAFe, or further development of the organization and of agile release train to make sure that we have continuous, or as SAFe calls it, relentless improvement in place. If we move to the next slide, this is a slide to provide you very brief overview for those who might be slightly less familiar with SAFe of what do I mean when I talk about alignment and those dependencies. So you can see in this example, we have 4 teams working together. Some of them might be working in Scrum. Some of them might be working in Kanban. So you probably recognize the icons. And those teams need to plan together. The planning together is happening on the event called PI Planning and SAFe. And RTE is the person who facilitates that process, who makes sure that it meets its indicated sort of purpose and goal, that everything is prepared properly, takes care of the facilitations. Then we have demoing together. So all of those teams are building one system or one solution, and it doesn't make sense that they all demo their little increments separately, because they still might not work together. So they need to show the entire system together. And this is another element of the process that the RTE would be responsible for, to make sure that the teams are able to demo together. Release aspects, I think we can park for now. Another very important element is learning together. So the last point, you see I&A, which stands for Inspect and Adapt event. This is the event that closes the big feedback loop on the PI level. So we have the retrospective as part of this event, where we are looking for impediments which might bothering multiple teams, and where the root cause might be outside of the teams. We are having a big demo of entire solution that the agile release train is building, and we also have an aspect of metrics which RTE would be responsible for. Okay, and now with this brief introduction, again, let's go into a bit more details around RTE.
So, as you may see, RTE is a Chief Scrum Master. It's a very important role in order to facilitate all necessary events which we have for our teams. Actually manage and optimize the full flow, because we're our agile release train, our teams delivering the value for our customers, for our end user, which is crucial here. Another important things to highlight here will be, of course, except of facilitating, because you already understood that there are plenty of different events which must be done according to SAFe. However, also that one of the tasks, one of the responsibility of RTE will be summarizing of PI objectives into program PI objectives. After PI planning, each team has its own goals, its own PI objective. And then RTE helps to summarize them into one program PI objectives and publish. So now we have this common view, common goals for all agile release train. Manage risk and dependencies. SAFe very clearly pointed that we have a lot of different risks, we have to manage them, and this is the part of RTE jobs to help teams see them, understand them, and of course manage plan proactively. any escalation and impediments tracking in case we have anything here. And of course, highlighting of critical bottlenecks, maybe escalation to the management, to the top management of the company. It's also a very important part of RTE responsibilities. Coaching. As a Scrum Master coach its team, the same for the RTE, and this person actually has a lot teams, a lot of different additional roles as a Scrum Masters, maybe even product owners to coach in some mindset events, how to conduct them correctly. So the part of coaching is also quite big for the RTE and definitely present here. In case if any assistance needed to the higher level, if you have large solution level, for example, and you work with capabilities, the big initiatives to be implemented, also RTE may assist here. One thing more to add in terms of RTE role will be, of course, it's about to pay attention for our end user, because on scale, it's very easy to lose our customer because we have a lot of different teams, they are doing something, and on some point, you may just understand that you are just doing the tasks instead of bringing the value to your end client. That is why for RTE is very important to help to drive this user experience, UX innovation cycle, to support the feedback from the market and to make sure that all feedback we got now in our backlogs and we are working on it as a whole team. Also, this is building quality of our product, because you cannot scale crappy code. Probably you heard this phrase, and this phrase means that we as a team must pay our attention to the level of quality of our product, must pay attention to extreme programming practices. And of course, this part, foster community of practice, keep building quality on very high level is also part of RTE job. And collaboration between very different roles, architects, product managers, solution managers, and all our other stakeholders like business owners and so on. I guess it was the main roles, actually responsibilities, which we wanted to highlight. So I know that Konrad has some question for you.
Yes, so similarly like before, have you seen any of the responsibilities that sounds new to you for the RTE? If so, please either speak up or put it on chat. We can have a similar discussion like we had a while before, even if the questions would, or your comments would not directly answer the question, but I really like the points which you brought during the previous slot. I think they were very, very interesting.
We saw that we have RTEs here on our webinar. So maybe you saw something new, or maybe we forgot to mention something. Okay, yeah, thank you for the feedback. The lean UX innovation cycle and the budgets, we don't do that. Thank you for this comment. I really hope that this webinar will inspire you to look into this topic and actually maybe discuss. Maybe you would love to join Lean UX innovation cycle, because it's crucial from my point of view to be implemented. And of course, the budgets, with the budgets, it's interesting because SAFe proposes to do it on a portfolio level when we allocate the budgets for the value streams.
So point related to budgets would be simply capacity allocation. It is very often the case where we have multiple either products in or generations or areas which we need to address in one Agile release train, and then raising the question, okay, so we definitely want to have people able to focus. So we should not have people or teams working on multiple products at the same time. But how to split overall capacity of Agile release train into multiple areas? How should we allocate 20% to one and 80 to the other, or 50-50, or any other proportion? This is the right question to raise, and RTE would be the person to at least initiate that discussion.
Yeah, and one more comment from Olga. It's hard to create a sprint goal and much more harder to have one audible goal for everyone in PI. I would add here that, of course, it's a challenge, and it requires practice. Because once you start to use sprint goals in, I guess, 3 months or maybe 6 months, you will see that now you cannot plan your sprint without sprint goals. They're really needed. And for the sprint, we have like one main goal here. With PI planning, of course, first time it will be challenging to create PI objectives, and very common anti-pattern is just to use the feature instead of PI objective here. However, the practice, if you will go on trying and making some improvements and trying to set the goal instead just the list of tasks, with the time, your teams will help you with it, definitely. But I agree that this is a challenge, and it just requires some time, some practice.
It's very useful to, when we start to talk about goals or objectives, to think from business and product perspective. By implementing particular functionality or feature, what will our product be able to achieve, or what will be the value that we provide to the business? And if we look from the business end user customer perspective, what do they gain by achieving something? Then it's easier to describe the objectives, at least on the team level, and then the role of the RTE would be to synthesize the objective for entire Agile release train based on objectives of multiple teams.
So let's take a view on our takeaways, what we actually wanted to highlight, and let's discuss with you our actually anti-patterns which we prepared for you and good practices. And of course, we will start with anti-patterns just to make sure that you're aware that this is anti-pattern and you're not going to repeat them in real life with your products. First of it will be the rotating of the RTE role. When we see that RTE adjusts the role, and during first PI planning, it's one person who is conducting this role. The next PI planning, the person switched to another one. Now, why it's anti-pattern? Because actually, RTE role is not an easy role, and it really requires a high level of the facilitation skills, of other soft skills here. And we cannot assign it to anybody in the train. It really requires some preparation. So if you are going to rotate this role, make sure that a person has all necessary skills. And this is really a high demanded role. If you wouldn't rotate this role, which is our recommendation, obviously here, then you will have such benefits as very good cooperation between RTE and this person who is conducting this role and the teams. You will have the improvement. So each next PI planning, each next system demo, inspect and adapt workshop will be easier, will be better managed here and facilitated. So our recommendation, of course, not to rotate this role, but just to choose the person and improve its facilitating skills.
You need to keep in mind the cadence. If we think about the PI of having length from 8 to 12 weeks, we would have 4 or 5 PIs within the year. So when we want to think about the improvements and the feedback loops or improvement cycles on the level of entire PI, you see yourself how many of them fit into the 1 year. So to create sort of consistent journey, we cannot rotate this role too often. If we pick the next one, few RTs in the same art, I think this is clear. We need to have clear responsibility in the RTE role. This cannot be distributed between multiple people, because then we never know who has the final voice, who is the final facilitator. It happens that for example, that Agile release train might be distributed and the PI plannings take place online. So RTE might require certain support in different locations where his or she is not present. This is fine, but this is only a support for the RTE. Those people are not additional RTEs in those locations.
Next anti-pattern, of course, will be when you have no any RTE at all. RTE is very important role. You just saw how many different responsibilities it has. So it's crucial to have a person who is conducting this role, because without RTE, from our point of view, it's actually impossible to conduct good PI planning and facilitate all additional events. So please make sure that you have RTE before you're going to have your first PI planning.
Yes. The next one, RTE shared between multiple arts. When we speak about SAFe, we talk about common cadence and synchronization. What means that the lengths of the iterations and also PIs needs to be the same, so we can build that alignment, and the same cadence to make sure that we can deliver together whatever we are delivering. If we have the RTE shared in multiple arts, which PI planning should that person attend? Where should he or she be? How would that person handle the art sync events if they happen at the same time? Those are all the questions which remain not answered if we have one person in the shared between multiple arts. It is truly full-time job to be the RTE for one train. So just to make it very clear.
And with the same reason that RTE is a full-time job, you have the next anti-pattern, which is one person in shared roles. For example, you have a product manager who is trying to be RTE and combine those two roles, or architect who is trying to be RTE. In such case, you will see that one of his or her roles will be done with very low quality. So either RTE, facilitation part, coaching will be done badly, or architect role will be done pretty badly. So please make sure that one person is not sharing such crucial art roles as architect, RTE, or product manager.
Mm-hmm. And the last anti-pattern is RTE not participating art events. I think that does not require much comments. So for the sake of time, I would propose to switch to the good practices. One comment, I see there is a question, very good one. What about Scrum Masters? Can they be shared across teams? We will reach this point in the next slide. I'm keeping an eye on time, and looks like we are a little bit behind the initial schedule, but I always value the discussion the most during the meetups. So I would encourage everyone to stay with us till the end. We'll have another slot for discussion very soon.
So Good practices. Of course, it's local support for RTE in distributed arts. We just discussed that there is no sense to keep a few RTEs in one art. However, the local support, it may be the Scrum Master who just helping in different locations. For example, you have 2 or 3 or more countries to support, and then you're providing such local support for RTE in this particular location. It really helps you to conduct PI planning very smoothly and facilitate it very good.
Mm-hmm. The next point is regarding working in a shadow mode. So especially if we are launching or aiming to launch to start the next trains, you might face the question how to onboard and how to train the next RTEs or the RTEs for the next trains. So the very good practice is to have the new RTE shadowing for a certain period of time, 1, 2, 3 PIs, already experienced RTE. So he or she would learn by doing, would have a good opportunity to observe how does the role look like in real life, but it needs to be very clear who is that main RTE and who is the person shadowing the main RTE.
Another good practice is encourage community of practice, because you may have a few different arts agile release train and you may have different specialists there. So for RTE, it's very important to help such community of practice be present in your art or in your organization, invite their necessary people, maybe drive some of the community of practice meetings here. This is very good place for the knowledge sharing, for improving people's skills, which is needed for our actually product development.
Mm-hmm. And finally, benefit from Measure and Grow Toolkit. For those who work with SAFe, SAFe is introducing Measure and Grow Toolkit as a set of questions and tools to basically baseline yourself. And you can use it in two ways, very shortly. One, as a really certain indicators of progress. How are you improving, or you as a team or art are improving over the time? But secondly, which I find even more important, is as a set of very good questions which trigger very valuable discussions. Are we doing this practices? How does our DevOps setup work? Like, are we maintaining our backlogs effectively, and so on, so on. So for those who are SPCs or have access to the community platform, have a look there. This is pretty useful tool.
Yeah, and even on the SAFe site, you also may find it at download for free, the simple assessment Excel file. So what about Scrum Master role?
Yeah, so here we, a little bit on purpose, didn't provide direct answers because we wanted to trigger a little bit discussion. I will, of course, if we need to provide a final answer, we would. But we would be curious to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your experiences? I would add one more point here, since we are starting to go a little bit over time. If you stay with us till the end, we would have a little bonus at the end of the webinar. So please make sure to stay. Okay, so any thoughts?
So
do you see
Yes,
those
sorry.
anti-patterns good practices applicable for Scrum Masters, or would you change them?
What is your experience as a Scrum Master? Do you share this role? So may you cover a few teams, for example? We have this question in our chat.
So to encourage the discussion, let me at least start commenting a little bit about the question which we have. So Scrum Masters, can they be shared across teams? If we think about Scrum, imagine a startup that consists of 2 or 3 teams. Yeah, so exactly like we have the answer. Some of them, yes. If this is really small environment, could be that one Scrum Masters work with the 2 teams. When we think about safe setup, it becomes a little bit challenging, because think about PI planning. We would have team breakouts. Scrum Master is very important during the team breakout. So how would we tackle this challenge? There is even longer answer. Fun fact on anti-pattern. We started with 1 RTE, and I can
comment. Maybe can
okay.
Comment. Hi all. So I'm RTE. In Materialize, it's 3D printing company, and actually I used to be 1 RTE, and we have a pretty big release train. I don't know. It's growing and growing. Okay, it's a different story. I will not cover it here, but in some moment, especially when Corona started, but a bit after that, I felt quite some pressure during the PI planning days. So it's really like when you have your kids sick or whatever, and you really understand that everyone, like all these 150 people are relying, or you should be responsible for the event, for everything. And then we decided to have a kind of co-RTE. And okay, you said there is a drawback that there should be the final decision, but we are now working for 1 and something a year. And it's actually a great tandem. And I would say we never had argues on the decisions or on the vision, how to the train should evolve, what are like the main focuses we should have at the moment. So at least I didn't yet feel it as anti-partner in our case.
Very, very good comment. I like it a lot. If anyone has heard about Shuhari, I'll put it on chat. You know what I'm about to say. For those who haven't heard, you can Google it. But basically, if we consciously, based on our experiences, start to break the rules, which as Olga just explained, it usually brings pretty good results. What is really important is to do it consciously, understand potential risks which are behind, and do it based on experience. Don't break the rules as a newbie into the particular topics, because this can be dangerous. But after a while, I think that sounds really good.
So I guess we may move on, because we don't have any other topics here. We covered the topic of the Scrum Master as a shared role. So with a safe environment, it will be difficult just to highlight, because you have common events, and as a Scrum Master, you should be with your team. So which team you are going to choose? This may be the challenge for you. To provide you some reading list, just in case you would like to have more details and to dive into them, we prepared the small reading list for you. The book we would really recommend you to read. It's Dean Leffingwell. He's the creator of the SAFE. Actually, the person who created this framework and emphasized it and actually drives a lot at the moment. The book named Scaling Software Agility, the best practices for large enterprises. There you will find all best practices from Lean, from Agile, from system thinking, just in one book. So feel free to refer to this book, and no matter do you use SAFE on your projects with your products or no. So highly recommended with this book. Also, the good list for other books and even online sources. This is the blog of Mycon, just for you for the reference, to have more details and more inspiration to identify room for improvements and create your own action plan now with your teams. And we promised some bonus, some little present. So we are going to have new trainings soon. One will be certified leading SAFe. If you would like to know more about SAFe, what the framework is about, how to work with the SAFe and have SAFe Agilist certification, you're warmly welcome in March on this training. We will be really glad to see you here. And if you want to have actually SPC certification, which is very, very valuable, we highly recommend to visit Konrad's training, which will be in April. So Konrad, could you please share a few words?
Yes, sure. So as you can see, implementing SAFe training is the training which provides SPC certification, the certification which enables you to implement SAFe in the organizations, provide all the knowledge which is required to bring and implement SAFe into the organization. It also enables you to deliver certified trainings and work as a trainer in SAFe. We'll be holding this training in person in Warsaw in April, 24th till 27th. Felix Russell is the SPCT, and myself will be two trainers. Details you can find on kegon.pl website, or of course on Kegon.de. The training is also listed on Scaled Agile, and the promo code below, which you can see, would give you 200 euros discount for this training beyond the early bird price, which is still the case now.
Yeah. So please do not forget to use the promo codes for any of those training. It's really our small bonuses for you since you spent your evening with us. We really appreciate your presence here. We really appreciate the discussions which we had, your questions, your experience, your cases, your comments. We would love to have another discussions with you and keep in touch. Please feel free to contact us in case of any questions. And for now, I guess we're ready for any additional questions, any additional discussions. If you have anything to add, to ask, you're warmly welcome.
I would have one more point before we launch the discussions. For those who are interested, I would encourage you to follow Kegon Poland on LinkedIn. I'm also pasting the link on chat. We will be holding another meetup on 15th of March. You might have heard the date. Some news around SAFe will be coming out. I cannot tell you more details, but we will have a meetup when we will watch the live stream from Scale Agile and listen to all the hot news live together. And this will be followed by the Q&A session with SPCTs from Kegon to answer all potential questions. And we'll hold those sessions in multiple languages. So there will be one session in Polish for Polish-speaking people. There will be one in German. If we would have other languages, we can arrange. I think there was an idea about Italian also. So let me know if you would like to have other languages. We would do our best to provide it. Okay, and then let's open the questions or discussions.
Yeah, so guys, if you have any, it's a good time to share. Looks like we had a lot of them. So in case, if we actually discussed everything, we really would like to thank you for your time, for being here with us, and we would love to see you on our other events. We will definitely have them, so please stay in touch. Just keep tracking our events on LinkedIn, on Meetup Base. I also will share the E5 LinkedIn profile, so you may simply keep tracking that, and we will definitely send you the record of this webinar, so you may share it with your friends, with your colleagues. They're also warmly welcome to watch it and actually to share their thoughts and their questions. Thank you guys very much, and special thank you to the Konrad. It actually was our first time conducting webinar together, so I really had a lot of fun. Hope Konrad also. And we'll see you on our next webinars, and really we hope to see you on our trainings.
Thank you, Helen. I indeed had a lot of time, and thanks everyone for active participations and very good questions. I really like that. They were very valuable.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Thank you.